Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back on a Wednesday night for another banger, and we coming at you with part two of What If Wednesday. You know what I mean? We been talking, and I got my man with us this evening. Not to disrespect, but I'm gonna get right to him real quick. But we've been going back and forth so heavy with the what if this, what if that. So we said, what if part two? And ladies and gentlemen, not to hold you, not to keep you waiting. I'm here with one of my guys, and I always tell him he's bending air from South Bend. They call him post game sports. How's it going this evening? Post game is good to have you as well.
I appreciate that, my brother. It is all good. Everything is great. I can't wait to get into these topics, my man. You did it again. Let's bring the people what they've been waiting on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The people been talking a lot, and we've actually been talking so much about this. What if I would say since the first time me and you, I would say a week. Let me not say the first time, but about a week or two after we really started communicating, we've been having so many thoughts about what if this, what if that. And when we talk about it, we talk about sports, we talk about even life. But when we come here for the WTP Sports Deuce, and I'm MossBurgh, Level Up Sports 10, and that's post game sports. We talking sports this evening. And that one that I felt was needed to be talked about. I felt a lot of disrespect on his career. Um, I've talked certain things, not understanding a triple double in an era where people think about titles. So my thoughts was, what if Russell Westbrook had titles instead of triple doubles? What's your thoughts on this one, post game?
Well, it's an interesting question, man, because first of all, Russell Westbrook gets a lot of hate, and I will never understand the hate that Russell Westbrook gets. The triple doubles are impressive, but like if you exchanged the triple doubles for championships,
Yeah,
I believe Russell Westbrook would be considered, if not the greatest point guard of all time, definitely top three. Because you think of what he brings to the game, and you can say what you want about Russell Westbrook. He does not cheat the game. I don't see him load managing, even at this advanced age. That dude plays hard every single time they jump ball.
yes, sir.
Russell Westbrook is go. I love
Man,
his game. I love his heart. I know he is the best player of all time, and some people got criticisms. But if you would exchange championships for triple doubles, Russell Westbrook would definitely be uh, in the upper echelon of point guards in the NBA in history.
yes, sir. Man, like when I've been thinking about this, I can't not disagree with you in any way. You know, when you think about the titles, when you think about the triple doubles, everybody's just said what they said about Russell Westbrook. He can't shoot, he can't do this, he can't do that. We still talking about Russell Westbrook at the end of the day. These triple doubles is not something that you just come out and you just easily get. A title is harder to get, you know, but a triple double for multiple seasons, that's something that you don't see. So when you talk about what's Russell Westbrook and some of the things about the jump shot and whatnot, I get this man his respect. I think he's Hall of Fame worthy. I think we've been graced with something special. And, for me, it was like seeing the big O, who was one of my guys, Oscar Robinson, in real time, with this athleticism and so much more. So, I think when you look at it, okay, if Westbrook had titles, man, you talking 25 points, maybe 30. He still might have averaged a triple double getting titles. Who knows? But just imagine Russell Westbrook with some titles. and still getting close to even averaging the triple double, with people respecting more. I respect him regardless. So that was just, one of my what ifs when it came to this week so far. We got many more. And one that you came to my knowledge about was, what if Penny Hardaway isn't traded on draft night for Chris Webber? And before we get to that, just want to appreciate everyone tuning in. Brother Whitmore, One Take Zay, anyone that's tuning in. And I have a little setup where I'm going live on another screen. And if you're tuning in live, we are on YouTube right now. You could tap in at Postgame 86. You could tap into LevelUpSports10, WTP Sports Dudes, One Take Zay. We are live right now. We are doing what we do. You can leave a comment in the chat. Let us know your thoughts as well throughout this segment this evening. And we are here with massive fireworks. And again, post game, man, that music. Man, we're gonna hold it. We're gonna get right to what you was asking. What if Penny Hardaway isn't traded on draft night for Chris Webber?
Well, so Chris Webber goes number 1 overall to the Orlando Magic. Now, keep in mind, the previous year, the Orlando Magic had the first pick. They took Shaq from LSU.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, lightning strikes in a bottle. They catch lightning in a bottle. They get a first pick the very next season. And they select Chris Webber. And from what I understand, Shaquille O'Neal was urging management to select Penny Hardaway because they got to play together on the set of blue chips. So he's telling them, I want y'all to draft Penny, but they draft Chris Webber. And he said he tore up his front room when he saw that they drafted Chris Webber. But if they would have kept Chris Webber's draft rights, you would have seen like domination in the paint area. You would have had Shaquille O'Neal, you would have had Chris Webber. That's 7'1" and 6'10". You would have had Nick Anderson. You would have had Dennis Scott, a sharp shooting three-point shooter, and some other players. So I don't know if they would have signed Horace Grant had they drafted and kept Chris Webber. But oh man, his name slips my mind. The guy who had 30 assists.
Scott Skiles.
You got Scott Skiles at point guard.
Yes, sir.
So you would have seen domination in the paint, rebounds, block shots. How many dunks they would have had every single game?
Man.
They probably would have had. They would have averaged like 7 dunks a piece had that trade not taken place. But it would have been exciting to see. But ultimately, I think it would have been one of those situations where it's too many cooks in the kitchen, too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yes, indeed.
Right? Because, I mean, you talking about Diesel and you talking about C-Dub. I just think the pain isn't big enough for both of them. Yeah. So I think ultimately, while that would have been exciting to see, the Magic made the right decision in trading for the point guard, the 6'7" point guard from Memphis State at the time, Penny Hardaway. But Chris Webber and Shaquille O'Neal, I have no doubt in my mind, would have been dominant. Long term, I don't know if that works because you got two bigs who demand the ball down low, and Chris Webber can handle the ball a little bit. But, man, that would have been fireworks and exciting to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, for me, it's the same thing because you got Shaq, you got C-Webb, two bigs that were very, very ball dominant, but they were doing what they did best, dominating that block, dominating the paint, and drawing the double team, night in and night out. I think, when it comes to that what if factor, man, Penny, and you really think about that because it would have been times where you got C-Webb and Shaq versus the bigs in the East, the possibility of that, you know, matchup. I think at that time, Tim Duncan and David Robinson, earlier in their career. You going against Akeem Olajuwon and those guys earlier in their career. You know, with that help, elevated Shaq and those Magic not being swept. In that early career where they have been able to propel in the East with the guard. Like how many assists would Scott Skiles have had with Weber, Shaq, Nick Anderson, like you said, Scott, Royal, the team that they had, they just had a team that continued to will through that East. And we seen and knew what the East had at that time. You really had to play your best basketball during the playoffs, be stout, get through that physical season in the East at that time and just ball out. So that was an era to where it man, it's so many what ifs in that era. One that I wasn't able to get on just to keep it on this subject of the what if. I had came across someone, and the one thing that come to the forefront is what if Grant Hill's injury? What if Penny Hardaway, as we just spoke on Penny Hardaway, and what if Tracy McGrady? I'm gonna put all three. I'm not categorizing. I'm not comparing. It's just I think when you talk about the comparisons that they receive, you're talking about a Grant Hill who received MJ comparisons, talking about a Tracy McGrady who received, Kobe Bryant comparisons, and we're talking about another counterpart, as well, and the greatness not to forget about Brandon Roy. I mean, it's so many when you think of this list: Penny, Hill, Roy, T Mac. Just give me your thoughts on those what ifs post game, if you could.
Yeah, man, that is some of the biggest what ifs of all time. I mean, you talk about Grant Hill coming out of Duke, a 6'8" small forward. I still remember him crossing Scottie Pippen and taking it to the rack and dunking. That dude was athletic. He was intelligent. He was tall. He was strong. He would have been excellent. Tracy McGrady, the same thing. That dude was deadly. I mean, does anybody remember what he did to Houston in what seconds?
Seconds, 33, 13.
13 seconds? Or was it 13 points in so many seconds? But
yeah, 13 and 33. Crazy.
Tracy McGrady was an unbelievable player. Brandon Roy, oh my goodness, that dude was smooth as butter. My goodness, Brandon Roy, I really hate that injury happened to him. He was such a great player. I mean, all these guys that we speak about with these devastating injuries, bro, they would have been all-time great players. I don't know. I don't know if maybe if Grant Hill in Orlando with Tracy, maybe if they're able to stay together and still make it to Orlando with each other, maybe they get a ring. But I don't know, due to the all-time great players that was just, dominating the game around that time.
Yes, sir. And another one, of course, I didn't mention because I know we would probably speak on this young man. You know, Chi Town, one of Chi Town's finest, I think. You know, Parlay Poe was in the chat. Shout out to Parlay Poe. Shout out to the whole chat for the guys for the questions as well, and the what ifs that they sent through. He had the question of what if Derrick Rose didn't get hurt. He said top five all time. What's your
It's
thoughts on this
top five all-time, period, or top five point guard?
point guard? I believe he was referring to point guard all time, possibly all time, but definitely point guard for sure. I know Parlay Poe.
Yeah, easily. Easily. If Derrick Rose is able to stay healthy, keep that athletic bounce that he had, there's no doubt in my mind he would be top five. He would be challenging for whoever. I think he'll be challenging for top three, because is do we still do we still talk about Steph Curry how we talk about Steph Curry? If that's a big if Derrick Rose is healthy,
Yeah. Yeah.
is Derrick Rose the one winning championships? I don't know. It's. I mean, these what ifs are crazy, bro.
Crazy.
So
Crazy.
I definitely believe if Derrick Rose is able to stay healthy, he's definitely a top 5 point guard.
Yeah. And we appreciate you tuning in as well. We have Cajun Meatball tuning in this evening. The first time I seen you, we definitely appreciate all those people that's new and tuning in this evening. One take Zay, he said that would have affected KD's legacy as well. Speaking on Brandon Roy, I believe, and he said if Brandon Roy could have stayed healthy, he probably would have been better than Kobe. And when you hear one take Zay, I'm leaving this here for a minute. When you hear one take Zay, rest in peace to the GOAT next to Mike, to me, my opinion, one of my greats is Bean. That's one takes all time. That's his GOAT. So that's a big what if when it comes to Brandon Roy and respectively. I remember watching battles in that West Portland, LA on a late night, like we said, I think earlier in the week or over the weekend about being up so late watching these games. I'm 12:30 in high school, 1 in the morning, watching them games, trying to go work on some of those moves. I remember Brandon Roy getting 40 on Bean, but Bean bouncing back and going crazy for a whole month of 40. You know what I mean? So it's a lot that, when it comes to these players, that I think when it comes to the injuries, the what ifs, man, crazy. He said top 5 ever, as they are in the chat right now, as we are on stream. But yeah, man, I think D Rose for me, man, that's a great thing when you mention that who would be getting those championships. Would it have been D Rose? Would it have been Curry? Even the fact of having, KD Brown, because you got to think about this. When Derrick Rose this was before his prime, Post. He was really given the GOAT we know today, as many people say. My GOAT is MJ, but the GOAT today, many people say we seen Derrick Rose given not just him, his team, anyone else that stepped up to that Bulls team, he gave them buckets. But he was that player, that engine that went and it was tough seeing that. So, for me, man, that's D Rose, McGrady, Grant Hill, Brandon Roy, Tracy McGrady. I think they could have altered so many legacies in basketball. They have left a legacy of their own, which still I feel Hall of Fame. But it's crazy in the fact that you would really see one or two of these players on the Mount Rushmore post, if not all. I mean, it's crazy, and when we think of that and how we really think about the what ifs. And we have one take jumping in again. We appreciate you tuning in. He said, "What if Ray Allen didn't hit that shot for LeBron against San Antonio? What happens to LeBron's legacy?"
That's interesting. I think the better question would be, where would Tim Duncan be on the all-time list if he's able to get 6? Or how many Tim got? 4 or 5?
That would have put Timmy at 6.
Yeah, I think the better, because the NBA was going to continue to push LeBron whether they lost or not, right? And he would eventually, it would have been a stain on his career, no doubt about that. But he would eventually got another one. But I think the better question is, where would Timmy have ranked if Ray Allen missed that shot, or had Greg Popovich simply had Tim Duncan in the game at that time to grab that rebound and seal the victory?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Man, that's a great question, one take. And for me, it's something, because packing your bag because you find the nearest bus heading back to Cleveland. My bad, flight because you coming from Miami. That's very interesting. And the reason I say that is because, that was that reason of being there. And we know what Tim Duncan, you know, did prior to when he was facing it, going up against that Miami team. Even though he had the claw, Kawhi Leonard, who's still going and looked like he's been reinvented himself after All Star weekend and throughout this season, as we are seeing. But it's just something I would say to look at when you think about what if some of the legacies that could be whether reinvented, possibly tarnished. We looking at a Mount Rushmore. Um, I mean, it's a lot of things that could have been altered. So we gonna go a little bit because I didn't realize how heavy we was talking about the basketball. We gonna switch it up. And WTP Sports Dudes hit us with a great one, and it had me thinking in many ways, many scenarios. What if Vince Young came back for his senior season at Texas, and this was after defeating a USC Matt Liner, Reggie Bush, bout it. I mean, you talking about a dynasty that was some other. If he came back for a senior season, an encore of what he did to complete and defeat a dynasty, which we really didn't think nobody could do unless it was Vince Young and that opportunity with the ball in his hands as we see. What's your thoughts on this? What if senior season at Texas for Vince Young?
Well, first off, that national championship game, I remember watching that game back in, what was it, '05?
Yes, sir.
That was one of the greatest games I ever watched. That USC, man, you talk about Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. That was a well-oiled machine Pete Carroll had at USC back in the day, bro.
Yeah.
And Vince Young was absolutely marvelous in that game. Had he came back for another season, he would have had a dynamic season, I believe. But I don't think nobody was beating Tim Tebow in that Florida team. I just don't. I think Vince Young probably, you had Ohio State and Florida in the national championship that year. They probably would have just came up just short because they played Ohio State that year in the regular season, and they, of course, they lost that game. But I think Vince Young would have just came up just short of getting Texas to the national championship. I don't think anybody was beating Tebow, Urban Meyer, and that Florida team that season, though.
Well, take Zay. He said Vince would have won the Heisman probably. Hmm. I
Yeah,
like
he
that. I
definitely.
definitely think, yeah, for sure won the Heisman. And I think, like, like you said, like when you think about that Florida Ohio State, you're talking about two elite teams. The speed on both of those teams was crazy. And coming back, I know, teams prepare for quarterbacks in that sort, that nature. And you're talking about an elite Florida team offensively, defensively, you were seeing everything in a book from that Florida team. They was disguising, they was fast. Ohio State, same thing. So I give him Heisman. I think we would have still seen some great things. Had Texas right there, but I think they would have just took a close loss just to keep them from being right there for a back to back. I mean, it would have been, I think, history for us to see. Especially coming off beating the team that was a dynasty, trying to go for something special and back to back at that time, being a black quarterback as well. So I think it would have been great, but definitely that Heisman would have been his to win for sure. The next question that we had, and again, post game, I appreciate you joining and tuning in with me this evening. And one take Zay had one, but I'm gonna get to yours. I accidentally, when I was getting everything together, I put this in, but I'm gonna get this to you. And we definitely have another guest coming in with us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We got one of the OGs who watched me grow up from a pub on up. I would say about 8, 9, 10. I can't remember. We have the great Griffey in the building this evening with us, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going this evening, Griff?
Man, chilling, bro, chilling. Kind of tired, but I had to come on here and holler at you since you hit me up, bro. What's going
Man,
on?
I appreciate you for tapping in, and it's appreciated. The next one we had coming up was post game. He had a topic on there, the biggest what if. I thought I was, on the football side, outside of one other that we had, and that was what if Randy Moss was allowed to enroll at Notre Dame. What's your thoughts? You say it again.
No, I was just saying, what up to Griff?
Oh, what's up? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing? Good to see you up here.
Good to see you too, man. I'm chilling.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Shit. Randy would have got to go to Notre Dame. What was Notre Dame doing back then? What year was this? 96 to 98?
95. 95.
Randy, he was the 18th pick in the draft. When he went, he'd have probably been the number 1 pick in the draft. He went to Notre Dame. Definitely.
Man, get this man. This dude is. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, man, because that deserves a round of applause, bro. I'm sorry, Griff. Can you say that one more time, man?
If Randy Moss had made his way to South Bend, Indiana, he would have possibly been the number 1 pick in that 1998 draft. Definitely. Come on, man. Keyshawn Johnson went number 1 2 years prior as a wide receiver. So it wasn't it wasn't unthinkable. So Randy, what Randy could have did at Notre Dame, going up against the USCs and all them teams that Notre Dame was playing during that time, Michigan, Purdue's, Drew Brees was there back then. Randy would have went number 1. Definitely.
Yeah, man, that is a really great point. I think had Randy, because a lot of people don't know Randy Moss was committed to Notre Dame. Like before that scuffle happened with the racial slur, whatever happened in high school, and this is the only thing that I hold against Notre Dame, because they still should have let him come to Notre Dame. Randy Moss wanted to go to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But I think with Ron Paulus at quarterback, and you got a specimen, arguably the greatest wide receiver of all time. I know some people say Jerry Rice, but man, he would have. I think they lost 3 games that season. I think even as a freshman, I think he was good for 2 at least, and that probably would have changed the inning of rest in peace Coach Holtz's latter part of his stint with Notre Dame. They probably could have got back national championship contention, because even as a freshman, and you parlay that with Ron Paulus, I'm pretty sure he'd be good for 2 more wins that season. They lost 3 that season, but I totally agree with Griff, man, that would have been good enough for picking overall one overall for sure.
Definitely. I really agree with it. I was just knowing the whole story, the whole situation. For Randy Moss, even to still be how great he is, it just shows the true talent and the raw ability of what he could do when it comes to him being on that football field. Shout out to the Hall of Famer and everything he's done for the game, as well as other athletes that we spoke on that's Hall of Famers, or if they don't choose you to be Hall of Famers. I feel we've spoken on.
Back when Randy was at Marshall, Marshall was still a D2 school.
Yeah.
It was still D2.
And, he put Marshall on the map as well. But just being at Notre Dame, I think that would have been special. And again, Griff, is great, Griff, to have you this evening, to join as well. Could you tell the little people, they may not be used to who you are, give them a quick speech, a little spill of who you are and, what you bring in as far as in your teams real quick, if you could.
Originally from New Orleans, moved here when I was 16. North Sider all my years here. Graduated from Weststone. My football teams. I'm a diehard Saints fan, diehard Knicks fan, diehard Cubs fan. You know, from the South Linden area, running through the terrace and in the number streets when I was younger. You know, came from that to what I am now. You know, fathers, grandfather, and just trying to live my life and make everybody around me better. That's who I am.
Yes, sir. Don't forget to tell them. We just finished up with Women's Month. Even though they came up George short, you had a daughter that was out there hooping, and you have a daughter that's got accepted, man. And we appreciate what you do as a father and that.
They came up short in the Final Four. It was heartbreaking because we got down early a little bit, came back, controlled the game. Second and the third quarters going into the fourth quarter, we was up 11, man. We was up 11 points going into we was up 11 points going into the fourth. It started spiraling. They got into the penalty with about 5 minutes left in the fourth. But with 4 minutes left, we were still up 9. But our girls it seemed like their feet got stuck in the ground. They couldn't get their hands on rebounds. A lot of second chance points from the St. Henry team with a remarkable comeback against us. They're a very good team to come back from 11 on us. Usually that's death for any team we played against this season. But they showed their grit, end up coming back against us, and they won the championship game by 20. So that kind of eased the pain to know that we lost to the better team, but it still hurts that we let them come back and beat us because we had them foot the neck.
Yes, sir, man. Well, we appreciate that and definitely appreciate you being here this evening and to stay on some greats when it comes to the football side. And we talking what if, and I know it was a comment that came in the chat, what if, shoulda, coulda, been. We talking sports, and it's always a what if. It don't matter what part of life or anything that you talking. A what if is a what if. What if Barry Sanders didn't retire when he did?
They'd have had to get him out of Detroit first. They'd have had to get him out of Detroit. I think it was a few teams out there. I think the Dolphins came up during that time because all they needed was a running back to get over the hump back then.
Yeah.
Two other teams, but he'd have definitely had to get out of Detroit.
What's your thoughts on that, post game?
100% agree. I think, Barry Sanders gave the Lions 10 years of his career, 10 dynamic years. He finished with over 15K rushing.
Yeah.
He probably would have played 3-4 more years.
Yeah, he had about 3 or 4 more.
Yeah, he probably would have finished with about 20K, maybe 130 touchdowns. I mean, Barry's Barry, man. It's one of the great travesties in sports and nothing against the Detroit Lions, but man, I wish he would have played for somebody else.
Yeah.
100%. Barry Sanders is goated. Still to me the greatest running back of all time. I love watching Barry Sanders, even though I called him at the latter part of his career. Man, his numbers would have just been outrageous, especially like what Griff said, if he would have got a chance to move on and play for somebody different, bro, his numbers would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was feeling the same way. If his career would have lasted, I think he retired because he was just so loyal to the team, loyal to the city. He didn't want to do nothing else. But, it could go on and on about that when it comes to as far as in him being loyal, wanting to be traded. But we know how that goes. But I think exactly what you said, so many more touchdowns. I think he would have broke the record way back then. I think we talking about one of the greatest running backs, arguably, of all time. To me, it was the greatest running back that I've seen. My opinion, Barry Sanders was my great. I love watching him. Really the only running back not that I cared for every running back or had a certain but Barry was my guy that I want to see if I'm watching football. Outside of me seeing Icky Woods and those guys on my Bengals, I want to see Barry Sanders. Outside of any other running back in the NFL, you knew you was getting a show. So I think we talking about numbers even crazier than we could expect to see now that we see at the top of the list, honestly, when it comes to Barry Sanders.
They say Emmett's record is unbreakable. Barry Emmett would have never got the Barry
Yes.
if Barry wouldn't have retired.
I feel the same way, man. Like, no disrespect. Emmett was a great running back, Hall of Fame. We respect everything, even him, his son playing that role and being a football player as well, being good in his doings. Barry Sanders was my guy. Being that small, doing what he did, the quick feet, the agility. You're talking about a loaded shotgun that could kill anything in sight. And when I mean kill, he's just going to move past you, break the tackle, be elusive, and get to that end zone. We're going to go one time. Anything else for you post game on that one?
Yeah, you don't want to hit Griff with the rest of the what ifs?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I got one coming for him. I was just about to go to one before I came back to the one that Zay got for us. I think that's a good one. I'm going to start up top with the Russell Westbrook. If he had titles instead of triple doubles, what's your thoughts on the what if of Russell Westbrook?
If I put it like this, if Russ had one title, that would skyrocket him up the list of greats. But if he had two, we could possibly say that Russ is probably one of the top 5 greatest point guards ever to play the game. If he had 2 titles, some people still think that way. I don't think so. I think you need a title or two to really be considered in any type of top 10, top 20 type of ranking. But yeah, if Russ had some rings and less triple doubles, he'll definitely be a top 5 point guard in just about anybody's eyes. I think if he would have led teams to championships at the point guard position, he'll be considered one of the greats ever. Even though he already is, but you know what I'm saying, immortal.
And speaking on point guards, I'm gonna put these guys in a not class by themselves, no comparison, but I feel these players, Derrick Rose, Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill, Brandon Roy, I feel they was ahead of their time in their prime at a time to where they could have changed the dynamics of the game in that GOAT status without being hurt, without those injuries. What if those 4 players didn't get hurt? Rose being one that was not even in his prime.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on those guys?
I think I was going back and forth with L on this on Facebook earlier. But Rose would have continued being a problem if he wouldn't have got hurt. Brandon Roy was a terror out there with his game. Who else you name? McGrady?
Grady.
Oh yeah, Mac Sauce. With T Mac, I don't think T Mac had a devastating injury. I think he just had an injury that just lingered on him. Like some of these guys had devastating injuries that they had to come back from. T Mac's wasn't so devastating. So when people put T Mac into this conversation, I don't really put him in there with those guys. But yeah, T Mac would have been great without that. Without his back troubles, he would have been great. Also, definitely. What you was looking at me to rank these guys?
No rankings.
Oh, okay.
Just speaking on that, and then like Grant Hill, what's your thoughts on Grant?
Oh, Grant, I think Grant would have been better than all of them if he would have never got hurt. Mm-hmm. Just think. If Grant and Tracy would ever got a chance to play in Orlando, bro, we got robbed of that.
Man,
we got robbed of that. that would have been fun to watch. Both of those guys playing at a high level, injury free.
And
And
We
not
got we got robbed of some good basketball, not getting to see Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill play basketball together. Man. We got
and
robbed.
not to cut you off, Griff, but don't forget, Tim Duncan was supposed to join those two,
Yeah, he
but
was.
they wouldn't let his family ride on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like the fact you mentioned that too, because that's what Post was saying. The fact that them two not being able to play together. I was a McGrady fan, so for me, it was like I was so happy. But the only thought that lingered in the back of my mind is, will they be able to play one season together and be healthy?
They
If we could have
just couldn't get it. Just couldn't get it together.
it,
Everybody was waiting. Everybody was waiting on it.
man, it would have been like Mike and Kobe to me. Just my opinion. I was like Jordan and Kobe together on the same court together. And like Post said, if they would have got a Tim Duncan, I mean, what it would have been on and on. You know, with this, what if those who could have like, I think, you know,
Because they both. Go ahead, Joe.
now I just think that's just something, because when you think about them too, you talk about, of course, the injuries, but a lot of people forget that they was actually at Orlando for a couple years, never had the health to play together. And
Yeah.
if we would have been graced with that, man, just give me a season of Hill and McGrady in basketball. You talking about 2 6'8", 6'9". I mean, like you say, one got compared to Mike, not even in his prime, way before his time, and one was basically studying Kobe, and McGrady and Kobe was like brothers. Respect the Kobe, R.I.P. You know, and that's just
Hey,
my thought.
like I say, shit. When you look at the release of the basketball, McGrady and Kobe were the same person. They were the two of the greatest shot makers in the history of the game. Tough shot makers.
Tough.
Not just make shots when they open, make shots in people's face. They made tough shots. Like two of the like if you had to make a list of players who made the toughest shots, Kobe and Tracy McGrady's name is right up there with the greats in history on
Absolutely,
making tough shots.
100%.
I put them both in the top 5 in mine. As far as hitting tough shots, like I say, not wide open shots where kicking out like 1-on-1, you got me D'd up and I still make the shot on you. Ain't get no better than Tracy and Kobe.
Mm,
Yeah, those two, they weren't scared of anything,
yeah.
especially Kobe, T-Mac too, but especially Kobe. You could have 3 people on him. Remember what he did to Ruben Patterson? That game tying 3
Yeah.
from the top of the key, and then the game winning 3 in the same game, bro.
Same.
That take guts.
And Patterson was right there in his face.
That take cojones.
Take a Mamba mentality, man. And you know, when I think about it, man, respect the code of the game of basketball for me, because like I used to go imitate things that he did, and like I said, I keep seeing this Laker, you know, video that's been out surface, and I think of Kobe and that baby when his mom was holding him in the stands, and he was looking and watching his pops on that basketball court in that decisive game with those Lakers. You know, I think of he had that mama mentality then watching a game 7. You know, for us to still talk about basketball, and when you talk basketball, you can't talk basketball without mentioning the great 2-4 or 8, pick a jersey, the Mamba. You will talk about him regardless, and it's just a given, you know. So respect to what he's brought to the game, done for the game, and we know his status when it comes to it. We appreciate you tuning in as well this evening, WTP for life. And he said, what if the Sixers got Brad Daughter instead of trading for Jeff Ruling after they won the title in '83?
And they got who?
Put that
Brad Doherty.
Did Brad Doherty come out in '83?
Instead, of trading for Jeff Rulin after they won the title in '83. They, he was one of the top bigs when he came out.
I know. I didn't think he. I thought I thought Brad Doherty came out later. That's all. That's all I was saying. I didn't know he came out in '83. That's a surprise to me. I thought he came out a little later, like '84, '85.
He played with Jordan Worthy. I think this would have been something. I think something to speak on. What would the Sixers have done with that, team? Because if I'm not mistaken, they would that have altered them getting Charles Barkley, or would that have, you know, put Daugherty and Dr. J together? That's what I'm thinking with this one. And Unc always hits us and catches us with these great questions that make me go on my encyclopedia.
Who did they trade for Jeff Rulin? Moses Malone?
84. He said in 84. That's when
I know they say they picked up Jeff Rulin, but who did they trade for Jeff Rulin?
What's your thoughts on this one, Post?
I was born in '86, bro.
And that's what, because like I remember when the Sixers, this was during that time where Magic Bird started to come up and that little rivalry with them, right? During that time of Magic and all those, that could have gotten Barkley and Daugherty. Okay. So that would have paired Dr. J, Barkley, and Daugherty together for Philadelphia. And you possibly looking at a team that could compete with Detroit during that run. That's something that could have been a special team as well. That's a 7-footer in Philly, which they haven't had since Moses Malone. You know, I think that's why they've held on to Embiid as long when you think about it today. You know, that's what Philly, that's when they do big things, when they have that big. Any thoughts on this one?
I mean, it sound like they should have went with Brad Daugherty. I know Brad Daugherty was a hooper. I do know that.
Yeah, because I was born in '82, but it just made me think about them '80s rivalries that I had watched, you know, over the years when I got a little older. And he said that the Sixers traded their high draft pick for Jeff Rulin. And Rulin, he was really a player that everybody kind of like went up people's draft boards, but to go up that high, I think was kind of wild itself. And one take had a great question, and I don't know. Nobody really asked me this, and I think everybody will know where I'm going with this one. I'm an FSU fan. I'm a diehard FSU fan, and be careful what you say about my guy when you see this come up. And we talking about what if Peter Ward. I think we know the rest post game. We talking about arguably today still. And I'm talking about Reggie Bush. I'm talking about Vince Young. I'm talking about any college player that's put on a uniform and played a game of college football or 2 or a season or 4 seasons or 6 today as they have sometimes. What if Peter Ward didn't get caught just getting the hook up on close post game? I'm going to have my thoughts on this. What's your thoughts on this post game? And the great Griffey Griffin. I'm going to start with you post game.
Yeah, when you talk about Ward, man, anytime, first of all, dynamic punt returner, kick returner, great wide receiver in college. I think Florida State is still the only team to start number 1 and end number 1 in college football, if I'm not mistaken. That was during Ward's time. And anytime you go top 5 in the NFL draft as a wide receiver, you know you destined for greatness. Obviously, that didn't happen for Ward and the Bengals. TJ Houshmandzadeh ended up taking his spot, and he ended up being released and playing elsewhere. But Man, Warwick was dynamic, man, and I see why you a Florida State fan, Moss, watching somebody like Warwick dominate the game in the fashion he did.
Yes, sir. What's your thoughts on this with Great Griffey? Griff?
Warwick, all time far as wide receivers go, the season he had, all time great in college football. His name is etched in stone. The plays he made on special teams, the hands he displayed in college, it was like he had stickum on. That boy was making plays all over the field.
That's
I don't know what happened when he got to the pros, but as far as college wide receivers, you definitely got to put him in the top 10 all time of college wide receivers that played in college.
yes, sir, for sure. You know, for me, the what if you talking about arguably a unanimous Heisman Trophy winner. You know, you go from overall number one, the top vote getter, really at that time, he would have unanimously won the Heisman. You talking about all purpose. You talking about he catching the ball, running the ball, returning the ball. I mean, you doing everything you could possibly do. And like you said, post game, unanimous one to start and to finish the season. You know, that's why I try to hold on my Florida State talk, but it's etched in history and it's still there as we talking about Peter. I think, you know, for me, watching him as I was a Bengals fan, I was loving it when he came to Cincinnati. And I think the progression of Hushmanzada, I think, I don't know if it was the organization. I liked him. He had a couple injuries, and I think he didn't get his rightful shot through his duration. And during that time that he was hurt, Hushmanzada just performed well. And you know the NFL is a business. You get one little knick-knack injury, they'll look at somebody else who's progressing and pay them the bag. And, you know, sometimes that stuff, even if it's getting a hookup, will still haunt you, which for me, you're talking about the best college football player, arguably at that time, all time, at his position, and y'all really booked him from getting some clothes, him and his man for getting hooked up on some clothes, man. We all could tell a story about how we didn't got hooked up with food, clothes, regardless of the amount. The amount has added up to that and more on the hookup. But, you know, what if? I think his career drastically would have changed. You know, nothing against the way it went. I still love the guy, still my guy, Seminoles Nose Nation, every day. Peter Ward, if I could meet you, we would talk about this every day and laugh about it because I think it's a travesty that he had to go through what he went through just from people being themselves and hooking a guy up at the end of the day. You know, for me, that's just my thought. And I'm not even being a homer. You know, it happened to Jameis Winston. It's happened to so many guys. Guys got money thrown at them, but they get a slap on the wrist. You know, so times change as we see year by year.
Definitely.
Anything else anybody want to talk about as we, you know, continue to dive in some of these great what ifs this evening?
You know that wasn't a legal pick against Notre Dame, right? We talk about Jameis Winston.
Nah.
You know that wasn't a legal pick, right?
You said it wasn't illegal?
No.
we gonna say that one for the text talk. We're gonna be all day on that one. But nah, any what ifs that you could think of, great Griffey post game, come out them, talk about them.
Yeah, you didn't. I wanted to get Griff's thoughts on what if Orlando would have kept the draft rights of Chris Webber instead of trading for Penny, how that Orlando Magic team would have looked, and could it have worked?
Webb and Shaq? I definitely think it could have worked. It could have worked. Because, you know, Webb was a smart player. Very smart. And the coach at the time, forget who the coach was, but I'm quite sure whoever the coach was could have made that work. because Webb was that type of player. He didn't have to play on the block. You know, he could have gave that block to Shaq, been that point forward for them. They had weapons. You know, they still had D. Scott, Nick Anderson, Scott Skiles.
Absolutely.
Few people on the bench at the time that was pretty good. Jeff Turner, a couple other players. So yeah, it could have definitely worked. Webb and Shaq, that'd have been nightmares for the Eastern Conference.
For sure.
Man, that's a good one. We'll hit him with the next one, Post, with the Vince.
Now, what if? We cooked on this earlier, man. What if Vince Young would have came back for his senior season? You remember if he was drafted by the Titans that year, the Florida Gators, and Tim Tebow won a national championship. What if Vince Young would have came back for that senior season?
Probably another national championship, maybe. Definitely the number one pick in the draft. Wouldn't have went 3. Could have stayed away from Tennessee and Jeff Fisher. I think Vince Young was a little bit before his time. A couple years before his time. Vince Young was a couple years before his time because Vince Young came out what year? 05 or 06?
He was that 05.
05? Yeah, 06. It was same year as Reggie Bush. That was the first year in New Orleans. 06. So when did Harbaugh start doing this, letting Colin Kaepernick go crazy? Like 2010, 2011? Yeah. Vince Young was about 5 years too early. About 4 or 5 years too early before his time. He'd have got a legitimate shot if he'd have came about 4 or 5 years later. I think they tried to mold him into something that he wasn't. He wasn't a pocket passer that just sat back there and no, he was a one read quarterback.
Yeah.
Put him in the shotgun, put it in the running back's stomach, take it back out, throw it to the wide open man. He wasn't a drop back passer, and that's what he was forced to be. And on top of dealing with Jeff Fisher, who never really liked him to begin with, it kind of ruined his career.
Just made me think about was Vince Young in the RPO before the RPO invented itself, or before they say this play that they call?
Definitely RPO before they start calling the RPO, man. That's all he did. So the whole Texas offense was predicated off of that. Put it in the running back's stomach. He either keep it, Vince go run it, or he go throw it to the first man that he see open. He ain't sitting back there making reads. But he was a very good player, but he just came up at the wrong time, where his skills could have been better utilized.
Definitely agree. Did you have one for him post game? You said, was you good?
No, that's all I had.
I wanted to actually hit you with a. Are you going with your usual flavor tomorrow, Thursday night? Because I wanted to surprise you with something and ask you something tonight on the side of you, because you've been having me think about this one question all week, and especially after today, after watching so many shows. But I got to know if you're doing your usual, or you doing part 3 tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we're gonna keep it rolling.
Ooh, I got it.
What's that on?
We play respect it or check it. I go through with questions, and you either respect it or check it, and you tell us why.
Oh, if you check it, you gotta say why.
Yes, yep. Like, so I'll say, for example, Jordan is the GOAT. Respect it or check it, and you respect it or check it, and then you tell us why.
I got it.
You got to come rock with us tomorrow night, man, if you can.
I got you. What time?
Same time,
7:45.
Different hosts. It's gonna be post game tomorrow evening. So we're gonna hit you with a quick one, real quick, Great Griff, just to get you warmed up, because me and Post, we be going back and forth so much. So we're gonna hit you with a Wednesday What if part 2 and more, and we're gonna give you a snippet to check it or respect it? Wembayama is the defensive player of the NBA this year. Respect it or check it.
Oh yeah, definitely respecting that.
Mm.
Definitely respecting that.
You like it. So just prepare yourself for
Yeah,
tomorrow's episode of Respect or to
yeah.
Check It with your
I,
host.
I seen Wemby do some shit the other night. Like, man, what the fuck? I seen him get dunked on. Then he got the ball on the fast break, went right back and dunked on the person that dunked on him.
Yeah, that was wild. That was wild. I know that was wild. It's just different, man. He's a different specimen. I haven't like. It's like watching a super tall Shaq, slimmer with dribble abilities, which is crazy because people fail to realize Shaq was maybe an inch or two shorter than Wemby, maybe stronger. He could dribble, but he couldn't shoot the way Wemby shoots. So it's like if you had a Shaquille O'Neal and he did all these things. Oh, if you watch Wemby with some length, it's a different specimen out there, man. Like,
But I think the one thing that worried me about Wemby, he's just so slim. He's just so slinky. Like, how much time does he have out there to, like,
yeah.
Is he gonna play 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10? Because I don't see 12, 13, 14 years out of Wemby. I don't see it. I think he got to get it in quick, get him a few championships, a couple MVPs, because I think he gonna break down.
Good point. Good
I
point.
think he's gonna break down. I think he got about 10 good years in him.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Can I ask y'all this, man, before we get out of here?
Yes, sir.
I get Wemby. I get Luka. But I get SGA. Do y'all think that Nikola Jokic is getting a little bit disrespected in this MVP race? Because double in points and assists. He there rebounding, being the center. That his numbers are just phenomenal this season. Do y'all think he being a little bit overlooked when it comes to the MVP?
I would say yeah. I definitely agree. I've overlooked him myself. I think when I've seen him do what he's doing, I guess I'm used to seeing Denver at a higher level. Even these are career feats for Jokic. I know they've had some injuries, but I was rocking with Cade before he dealt with his injury. He's literally turned that franchise around.
Yeah.
That's why, I've overlooked him. I've seen what he's done, but it's like, yeah.
Your center is averaging a triple-double, man.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Ridiculous. But I think he's getting overlooked because, he's a 3-time winner. Denver, what they setting at in the West? They're like 4 or 5?
4 or 5.
SGA's playing he's on the best team. Luka's in front of him. Luka's team's in front of him right now. Wemby's team's in front of him right now. So I don't think he's getting overlooked. He's just getting overlooked by players who's having the same type of impact playing on a better team. So
yeah.
Triple-double.
I think if Denver was number 1 in the West, it'd be hands down Jokic be MVP. Come on now, y'all know that.
So it'd be a no-brainer.
It'd be a no-brainer. If Denver was number 1, if Denver was number 2 in the West, it would be a big argument for him. But they're number 4. He's number 4 or 5, set behind 3 players that's teams are playing better basketball than his team. So that's where I see it at. I think that's where the discrepancy comes from. That
and that's the thing. Like for me, when you think about it, like you said, the Lakers, they've been back and forth with the win streaks, and then now we're seeing Luka on the tear that Bron didn't even do. that other Lakers in franchise history did. So I
If
think
Brian can play center in the playoffs, the Lakers have a chance.
Brown plays center in the
If
playoffs.
Brian plays center in the playoffs, I'm talking about a lot of time at center. Put him at the 5 and have Luke out there with Reeves and 2 other people, and they go.
I think OKC would sweep them if they did that. But I just think it's just the fact that
it all depends on OKC's line. If they got Hartenstein in there, definitely. But Brian gonna have to do some of that.
Yeah, I think the problem when you get into playoff basketball, we all know that your weaknesses are exploited. I don't think the Lakers can stop a nosebleed. They can score 1,000 points, but that defensive side of the ball might hurt them, man.
vulnerable.
And while we at it, the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year is Hannah Hidalgo. Shout out to Hannah Hidalgo, man.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Hannah Hidalgo. I know that's your girl post game. And speaking of Hannah Hidalgo, I had this question for you. Shout out to the women and men's in the tournament where you are respectively, giving us great basketball. These tournaments have been something special. What if, and I know this is probably one of the wildest what ifs to think about, but I'm that guy. What if Hannah Hidalgo got selected for Player of the Year without being on that candidate list?
Bro, is that has that ever happened?
No, sir, not that I could think of.
Man, if that's possible, they should, because again, and I've said it in multiple videos, I've been saying it all year, nobody affects the game on both ends of the floor like Hannah does. So I think she would be deserving. And just like Griff talked about, man, your team standings and where they're at affects that a lot. But again, man, I just say nobody affects the game as at point guard. Your 5'6" point guard affecting the game on the defensive end and the offensive end like she does. I would have gave it to her in a heartbeat.
I agree. For me, man, if that was to happen, I think it goes to show, man. Like you can't always look at what you see on the bulletin board when it comes to these accolades and rewards. You just got to go out and keep doing what you do. I think she's done just that, which, elevates her into being a defensive player of the year. She had a lot of goals, I'm sure, going into this season, and she just wanted to conquer each goal. So, shout out to what she's done and graced us with basketball, and she will be back for another campaign. I can't wait. I seen it the other day when she broke. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it. What's your thoughts on this one, Great Griffey Griff? What if Hannah Hidalgo gets selected, not being on the list for Player of the Year?
Hannah's a great player. I don't know the other players that are in the running for the Player of the Year. I don't really follow college basketball as much as y'all do, but she's a great player. She's great. I think Sarah Strong might end up winning it though.
Yeah,
she's playing on the best team. They're undefeated right now, aren't they?
Still undefeated. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a strong case for Sarah Strong or even her teammate Ozzie Fudd. And who else is out there?
Caleb Blakes.
But yeah, like I said, I don't follow women's college basketball as much as y'all do, but them is three girls right there that definitely should be in the running for it.
Let me put this into perspective, fellas. Hannah Hidalgo, the 5'6" point guard from Notre Dame, has just won the Naismith Women's Defensive Player of the Year. Can I tell y'all the last 4 winners? Cameron Brink, Aaliyah Boston, Natasha Mack. What do they all have in common?
Them 6'9" bigs.
Hello.
Oh, she in the land of the giants, doing work. Hannah Hidalgo, we see you. And what do you call her post game? What do you call her?
Grand Theft Hidalgo.
Grand Theft Hidalgo. We appreciate what you gracing this basketball.
That's a good one.
Well, we can't wait to see you for another year as well. I just can't wait to get back to Women's Month next year, but I might have to switch something up a little bit and make some Wednesday just for Women Wednesdays, respectively, with the sports the way they are, and not just leave that 1 month for you women, respectively, because I think, for me, I really enjoyed the last month tapping into these different talks on Women's Month. I have a mom, I have sisters, I have daughters, grandparents. So it's all appreciated. Nieces, so it's greatly appreciated all across the board. Grandbabies. So when it comes to those women in your life, make sure you hug them, you hug them tight, tell them you love them, appreciate them. We all make mistakes in life. Those also some talks that I'll be bringing to coming soon. I've been in talks with a few people. I know mental awareness is something that needs to be looked at each and every day of our life, not just a certain month. A lot of months have a certain month. It's not about just that month. I know it's a focus. I get it. No disrespect. But here, MossBurgh at Level Up Sports 10, I want to bring a lot of those too throughout the year, whether it's in conversations, whether it's in talks with whomever you may be. I think it needs to be brought to the forefront a little more throughout, especially in the neighborhood where I grew up at, where I currently reside in, to be an effect in different ways. And if you see me, trust me, I might be tall, I might be dark skinned, but I'm a gentle giant, man. I'm not going to bother nobody. I might talk to you all day about my podcast and try to get you on my show to like and subscribe, as you should do to all the channels that you see below. Anything that you want to say before we get out of here post game, Great Griffey Griff?
No, I just want to say great show once again.
Yeah, great show, fellas.
Yes, sir. If you out there, you listening, you watching, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't matter which channel you watching from. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button.
Yes, sir, man. You heard what Post Game said. Make sure you like, subscribe, post, man. This right here. There, man. As y'all heard Post Game say, we're going to take y'all out this evening. Can you hear me, Post? As long as you can hear me, we good, man. I love what we've been doing, man, and it's nothing but love when we come through and when we cooking up here on the show every day, every time you see us tuned in. This is your boy, MossBurgh. Great Griffy Griff. Make sure you tune in to all the channels below. And you got my man, Post Game, in the next step. We're going to get up out of here. KT's Eating this Friday. I got a couple edits coming out for you, so make sure you stay tuned in to everything we're doing. Level Up Sports 10 on Instagram, Level Up Sports 10 on Facebook, all the channels you see. We're going to be dropping things, and KT Eats Good Eats is back on this Friday and this Saturday. We popping up, so tune in and make sure that you see tomorrow's. Check it or respect it. Same time, same place, different hosts. It's going to be Post Game Sports. We was in the building. We out.
Yeah. See y'all, fellas.
Love, man.